The Phoenix Gold Mine is located about 2 miles west of Idaho Springs, and there are two ways to get there. From Idaho Springs, one can either exit the town at the west end, and when the main road makes its final split, instead of returning to I-70, hang left to cross under the interstate, over Clear Creek, and then continue for another mile or so on Stanley Road. There's some good scenery along the way, including the remains of the namesake Stanley Mill. Then turn left on Trail Creek Road, also called County Road 136. Alternately, leave I-70 at exit 238, Fall River Road. On the south side of the interstate, a new bridge over Clear Creek gives access to Stanley Road, and after traveling just a short jog east, there's Trail Creek Road again on the right. Either way, the turnoff has prominent signs for the Phoenix Mine. 3/4 of a mile up a badly washboarded county road, and shortly after passing an early 20th century ore bin on the left, the Phoenix Mine property will appear on the right. The site does feature a small outdoor museum of sorts, including a mix of old mining and milling equipment. Also present are modern mobile generator and compressor sets for powering the mine site. And there is also an old school bus that has been turned into a gift shop complete with a wood stove for heat. A small stream across the road provides a unique gold panning experience for tour participants, although periodic operations higher on the hillside sometimes force a safety closure. In that case, the panning experience moves over to the demo tables contained inside the exit portal. There's also an on-site mill building, which wasn't open to the public when we visited. According to a tour guide we spoke with, it may be added to the tour circuit in the near future. Interestingly, this facility provides clear demonstrations of many common mining terms used in Western hard rock mining operations. We'll cover a number of those definitions as we move through the tour.
Considered confined space. They don't make you guys like make all of us carry little oxygen tanks and all that sort of.
Because you don't go far.
No, and so we do kind of an oxygen test every morning. It's not as much of a concern in gold mining and hard rock mining in Colorado when you're going for lead or silver or gold or whatever as it is in a coal mine. We don't have methane that comes bubbling up through our veins or anything like that. Yeah. The biggest concern in a mine like this is hydrogen sulfide gas, and that forms as sulfur, mixes with water and decaying material down there, and basically you'll get this really strong whiff of sulfur, and then it's so strong it burns the receptors for that out in your nose. So they say if you get a really strong whiff of sulfur and then you stop smelling it, you just leave.
Okay.
Oh. That's
Good to know.
So miners have special terminology for everything we're going to see today. The opening that you guys are about to walk through is not the front door. This is called the portal. All right. So look up above the portal. Can you guys see there's kind of a crevice up here?
Yep.
That crevice is our gold vein. The vein is a layer that runs through the mountain. You can see some iron rods sticking out of the ground above that crevice that shows you how it travels up the mountainside. Final processing of the concentrates that we produce is not economical right now. We're too small of a mine to sell it to somebody else to process, and we can't process it ourselves because the government assumes that we will do a bad job and release a lot of sulfur in the environment. So the regulations are really prohibitive, and we need somebody to engineer a better way to do it or to lobby for a different regulation.
This is just because of all the chemicals that are used in the processing of.
Whew. How deep is this winze?
Yeah. This winze goes down 500 feet. The bottom of this winze is connected to that second attempt, the Rockford Tunnel.
Oh, okay.
There's a level of the Phoenix mine, like you're going to see now, but larger, 100 feet below you, 200 feet below you, and 300 feet below you as well. You guys all notice the skip car?
That's good.
Yeah.
What we're going to be looking for today is a place where this vein has opened up into a pocket. And this vein used to be a crack in the rock, right? Cracks usually aren't straight, kind of jagged. Imagine that jagged line slipping past itself and opening up a lens. That lens, that kind of a cookie or a pancake-shaped area is where more of this ore is able to build up, and that's where the miners make all their money. I'll tell you more about drilling. So most of the miners that came to this part of America to teach us how to drill came from Cornwall. They mined for lead, tin, silver. The problem is they love to name their sons Jack. So the Americans called these guys the Cousin Jack miners. They called this Jack because most of the guys swinging it were named Jack. And Jack called this a drill steel because he was a pretty simple guy. This was made of steel and it drilled a hole.
Oh.
Well, if you take that flat chisel point and you rotate it an eighth of a turn at a time, it makes a circle. 8 to 10 hours. Who's ready? You guys bring a lunch?
Yeah, no kidding. Confined space, huh?
Ideally, you want enough people doing this that you can start a pattern of 60 to 80 holes every shift. Ideally, I work in a double jack team. 2 guys named Jack with bigger tools. This dust is one of the deadliest things down here. Let's say that's the number 3 biggest killer underground.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
This dust is like microscopic shards of glass. It gives people a disease down here they call consumption or silicosis. Right, so this all used to be solid rock.
Yeah.
Did you notice what happened to the vein back here where we were talking about drilling? All that sulfur color gets a little bit bigger, right?
Yeah.
Starts to fork apart right here. So the miners have enough of that ore they can make a profit, and they followed it up as close to the surface as they could.
Oh.
This stope is about 60 feet tall. The tallest stopes we're going to walk underneath today are 100 feet tall. This pillar gives you a really good look at the ore the miners were removing. This shows you all those little flecks of iron pyrite, and it's that white rock holding it together, the quartz. When gold was $2,000 an ounce.
Right.
If you could fill a cart with just that rusty powder up there,
Right.
not only would you get a lot of silver out of all that material, but you'd also get $20,000 worth of gold in every little yellow mine cart.
Wow.
I see a lot of pretty stuff being talked about.
Alright, so before we talk about the lucky bucket, there's another elephant in the room here. Everybody seen the big blue streak on the wall?
That's really cool.
This is the next gold vein they found in here. This blue color is naturally occurring. This is copper sulfate. So there's copper in the ore, oxidizing with the sulfur, and turning this beautiful cobalt blue color.
That's gorgeous.
This vein contains a lot more copper. So what does that tell you about the gold content?
There's a lot of gold. It rides on copper.
Yep. This ore contains 1.5 ounces of gold to the ton instead of half an ounce of gold to the ton. And this vein wasn't found until 1973. It was found out on the surface by 13 and 14-year-old kids.
Oh, wow.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
All those miners back in the day, I mean, what are we? 10, 20 feet from their other vein?
Right.
But that's really striking. It's really like a big flood. You're like, oh, here it is.
Yeah.
You know, it makes it really easy to find.
So the story goes, it's all tied into the lucky bucket. The previous owner of this place had 4 kids, left the oldest kids home alone when the family went on vacation in 1973, and they hiked up here from Idaho Springs with their friends to teach their friends how to prospect. The oldest sister's done this a lot, so she gets bored, she goes on a hike. She goes up on the mountainside and she finds this long, thin piece of rock that looks kind of like the stuff that they play with when they're prospecting. They took samples of this ore, samples of the Phoenix ore, down to their father's assayer in Idaho Springs, dropped them off to get tested without asking anybody's permission. I don't know the full story, but the family basically gets a bill in the mail for like $2,000 in 1973. First page results, ore from the Phoenix vein, wasted money. Go through. Eventually they find all this gold, all this silver, all this copper. They claimed it, and then by 7 years later, 1980, they had dug into where we're standing now.
Wow.
They started getting tours down here to fund development on this vein. people would just kind of drive by and ask, hey, what are you guys doing in there? Nobody'd really been mining in here since like 1943, so it's kind of weird to see action. Alan was a showman, he wrote So can you guys guess what the bright yellow spot in the middle of the slide here is? It's gold. There's a lot of other valuable things in this image. The silver is contained in all these kind of gunmetal gray and blue areas. Those are lead sulfides. All this black stuff is copper. It's cobalt. It's the mineral that turns the vein above you here blue. Oh, the rocks?
Yeah.
The rocks you get fed in here.
Oh, just enough. Okay.
Yeah, this thing used to move, but it doesn't anymore.
Yeah, munch, 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 munch.
Wants to get pulled in a linear motion towards this big cast iron box back here in the corner. This is a big mechanical gold pan. It separates everything based on density. Besides the knocking motion, the table's got an angle to it. Lowest point is this over here, and there would have been a big pipe up here distributing water across the pipe.
In the Old West, a popular saying was, "Don't mind the mine, mind the miners." Meaning, your income would be a lot more stable if you opened a retail supply store rather than another mine portal. Today, with environmental regulations being what they are, the equivalent is, don't mind the mine, mind the tourists. And while some of these mining tours are a bit pricey, we were pleased to see how much of that money has been reinvested to make the Phoenix safe and interesting to visit. The floor was level, everything was well lit, and the experience never felt claustrophobic. Has anyone seen my phone?